Hello and welcome to episode 270 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans' weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Mike Sollosi, and here we are going to record straight from the House of Hades about Hades, SuperGiant's fourth game and the fourth episode in our 2-month miniseries of SuperGiant Games month that somehow lasted 2 months. But who's joining me to talk about Hades? Four other Greek mythology enthusiasts, starting with Alana Hagues.
All right there, mate.
And Leona McCallum.
Hi there.
And Niki Fakhoori.
Hello.
And making his triumphant return to the podcast after an absence of more than 2 years, Dom Kim.
Woo, glad to be here.
All right, Leona, Alana, Niki, Dom. We have a hell of a game to talk about, and not just because it's set in a literal version of hell. Hades came out in early access, I think a little less than 2 years ago. For a while, it was on an exclusive to the Epic Games Store. Had a very well publicized and well researched early access period that had a lot of input. There was even a no clip documentary, a recent Retro Encounter favorite, no clip. So there is just so much about this game that you can find on the internet, and it ended up being one of the standout games of 2020. When it finally released on multiple platforms, including Steam and Switch, in, I want to say, September, maybe a little earlier?
Yeah, well, September
I think
17th.
late September.
Right. So there's many ways you could have experienced Hades over the past year plus, but the five of us at least played through it enough to get to Greece a couple times. And so let's go down one by one. Each of us... What was your early impression of Hades when you first played it? How did it strike you, and how much did you end up liking it? Because this is going to be a positive podcast, listeners. So if you're looking for the Hades gets roasted at the Apollo, look elsewhere. Starting with you, Leona, what were your early impressions of Hades, and where are you now with it?
Well, you can actually find my early impressions because I actually streamed it the first time I ever played it. It was just like a one-off stream. I was like, let's try this game, Hades. It seems fun. It's new. And then I booted it up and I fell in love. I really, really enjoyed the gameplay. And I think I was naturally drawn to the Greek mythology of it all. I love Greek mythology. I love all mythology, but Greek mythology has also always been my favorite ever since I was a kid. And then the art style was so beautiful and everything, so I just had to keep playing in my off time. I had amazing first experience with it.
I'm also a Greek myths enthusiast. I had a big Art Deco style art book of Greek myths called Dolaires that I read cover to cover as a child and had to buy multiple new versions of because my old ones kept getting torn apart.
I wonder if that's the same one I had. I had a big encyclopedia of Greek myth and gods and stuff that my gran got me, and every day I'd sit behind the couch with this giant encyclopedia and read it through.
It may have been. I mean, there's a lot of good resources for Greek myths, both academic and for children, and I've read multiple of them. So I was even surprised that Hades doesn't just stick to the 12 main gods that everyone knows. They get into the the Hesiod stuff and the obscure underworld denizens stuff. And it's and the interpretations are always so beautiful and fun. Niki, what was your experience playing Hades?
Well, I saw, I play it on Switch, and I saw Nintendo put a tweet out when it was like, oh, it's coming soon. And I'm like, oh, handsome guy, let's get it. And it's very fun. I really enjoyed Bastion, so I'm like, oh, I'll probably like this too. And it's very addicting, even though I'm very bad and I've only cleared it a few times. It's very addicting despite that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, winning at Hades is great, but it's a game that I don't even feel bad when I lose, and I have lost so many more times than I've won that I keep playing it even though I haven't gotten to clear in several days.
Yeah.
And the handsomeness of the boys and girls and gender binary non-identifiers in Hades is something that will come up, I promise you. So Dom, what was your Hades experience like?
Yeah, well, I was going through kind of a roguelike phase. I guess, and I've been peeling through like stuff like Enter the Gungeon and The Binding of Isaac, and then I saw Hades pop up on Steam, so I was like, hey, might as well try this one out. And what struck me was just how, I guess, accessible Hades is as a roguelike compared to many other games in its genres. And yeah, it was like one of the few experiences I had where like I immediately just took to the game. And like my first session was just straight up like like 4 or 5 hours, just nonstop running. And yeah, I was surprised myself at how much I found myself enjoying Hades.
And shoot, I think that Dom just used the word roguelike for the first time this whole podcast. We didn't, I mean, I barely mentioned what kind of game Hades is. It is steeped in Greek mythology, it is full of handsome people, but at its core, it's a roguelike with a lot of RPG elements. Roguelikes being games that focus on randomized content and multiple runs. The intention that you play a game that has a short-ish gameplay loop multiple times in hopes of achieving faster or better results or closer to completion with each run. And I mean, Spelunky is a platformer themed roguelike. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some more. Rogue Legacy is a roguelike that has a lot of carryover RPG elements. That's also an action game that's a little like a Castlevania. More recently, Slay the Spire is a pretty popular card game roguelike that I binged on after receiving it as a Christmas gift.
Slay the Spire is so fun.
Some days ago. Yeah, that's another good one. But Hades is a roguelike with isometric action, and it's developed by SuperGiant Games, which we've reported on their podcast we reported on their oeuvre on this podcast recently, including Bastion, which Niki mentioned. And Alana, you were on those podcasts with me, and they were all super fun to record. But I think Hades might be my favorite Supergiant game. What was your experience, or what has your experience with Hades been the past few months?
Oh yeah, pretty much the same. Kind of the opposite, really. Like I've never really got into roguelikes, and I think maybe the more appropriate term for Hades is roguelite, in that it kind of embraces those RPG elements with the kind of randomized content style of things. So I've never really clicked with them, but I got this, like, I'd never really clicked with Supergiant Games' stuff until after playing Hades. And so a friend recommended it to me a couple of days after it came out. They were like, you've got to play this, you'll love this. I was like, all right, it's 20% off on the Switch and I'll do it. And within the first hour, I knew I loved it. There was something about the design, the charm, the dialogue that just completely grabbed me. It was unlike anything I'd ever played before, and I just kept coming back and back and back. And yeah, Greek mythology in video games, and in particularly RPGs, is pretty overused, and Greek itself is probably the most common, but you've already kind of addressed it, Sollosi. It goes so much further into the 12 most popular gods and the base knowledge, and it's a really authentic interpretation of traditional Greek myth, as well as being really unique and characterful. So every single personality is very true to how they were believed to be or written to be or drawn to be. And it translates so well to the medium as well. And I'm not great at this game, but every time I die, every time I win, I get something. Every time I die, I get something good. So it's why do I not want to keep playing? I will lose 3 to 4 hours on this just having a blast. And yeah, I absolutely love this game. It's so good. I can't stop playing it. I've had it since September, and yeah, I'm approaching 80 hours now. So yeah, you just pick it up for half an hour, don't you? Do one run, you're like, oh, I'll do another run, and it's 3 hours later.
Oh, it's so close, that run. I'll just do one more.
Yeah, pretty much.
And in between runs, the main character Zagreus, the son of Hades, gets wades out of the river Styx, because that's where you go when you die in the world of Greek myth. And you get to, spend some time at your home base. You talk to all the other denizens, all your friends, maybe tweak your upgrades and your passives a little bit. And even that's fun. Like, all of the RPG stuff in between the gameplay runs of the roguelike are fun. And roguelike versus roguelite, this is a level of video game taxonomy that we don't need to spend a lot of time on. But like, people that have a more hardcore interpretation of roguelike think maybe they would say roguelite instead, because Hades has so many RPG elements and player control elements that maybe Hades is not random or not challenging enough for roguelike fans to properly embrace, so they change one letter of the word.
Yeah, it's not easy though.
No, and
it's not hard. I'm like, what are you playing? Like,
and the crazy thing is, well, there's multiple crazy things, and we will get into all of them. But the thrust of the game is that you're Zagreus, the son of Hades. You you decide to leave Hades because you've learned something about your family, and you decide to escape. But to reach the surface, to reach Greece proper, you have to go through, I guess, 4 different levels of hell to reach the surface. But your cousins and uncles, and I think one aunt up in Olympus, learn about you from the first time in having you escape, and decide to help you escape. So every time you do an escape attempt, you choose a weapon, you prepare yourself, and occasionally, or very often, one of the Olympian gods will give you an upgrade called a boon. So, and the rewards you get for clearing each room of this isometric style action RPG, you'll get. You can choose between various currencies, or boons from the Olympian gods, or special upgrades like health increases, or daedalus hammers that change properties of your weapons. So the random elements of the roguelike in Hades are what upgrades you choose and what rewards you balance in each room. And some of those upgrades, like the multiple currencies that I alluded to, you do save in between runs, and you can use to upgrade yourself or upgrade parts of your base at the House of Hades. Alana mentioned being rewarded when you win and rewarded when you die, and I think that this game, in all of the choice it gives you and all of the rewards it gives you, is one of the best kinds of gameplay equilibrium I've ever played. Like, they reward you for every accomplishment and keep track of every accomplishment, and you can carry some of those accomplishments in between runs. We're going to get into who our favorite husbands and wives are in this game, and many other fun parts of the discussion. But let's stick to gameplay at least for a little bit. What's either a boon or a weapon or a build? Like, tell me one gameplay or action thing about Hades that we love. I'll go first. I love that they somehow made this is unrelated to the genre of roguelikes, which is similar to Alana. I was a little bit averse to until playing Hades, but I like that they took a kind of build that I never use in an RPG and made it into my favorite build of the game, because I love poison now. Dionysus boons will let you inflict hangover on enemies, and Dionysus is the Greek god of wine, so of course it makes you hungover.
That poison. I thought we were talking about another poison.
No, different poison.
You love that poison.
No, I always I am averse to status effects in RPGs. Like, why do I want to poison or burn something when I could just deal more damage all at once? It's like, like I'm an 8-year-old playing Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
But like Dionysus and making everyone hungover and slow and stumbling over themselves, and Dionysus giving you upgrades when you drink from fountains or drink nectar. Like, I almost always try to have 1 or 2 Dionysus boons on me if I run into his icon, and I normally don't love damage over time builds. So yeah, this game made me interested in poison in a way I'm not usually.
Every god is so interesting. Like, there's no third god. You can always there's something fun about every god, really.
Do you have a favorite god in a gameplay perspective? Like, I mean, I just mentioned Dionysus. What are other ones that we'd love to see always?
I like Demeter. I like her builds. I like turning the game into a tower defense game where I just drop a bunch of those ice crystals that shoot laser beams.
Yeah.
And hide behind things. I love that.
The 4 action buttons of Hades are attack, special, dash, and cast.
Mhm.
And if you get a Demeter boon and throw it on your cast button, you get a tower defense laser, like I was playing 13 Sentinels a month ago.
Exactly. I bet also Artemis has some really fun like cast upgrades as well with her boons. So I'm just dropping so many ice crystals when I combine Demeter and Artemis together.
Yeah, they have one of the best duo boons as well, because if you get their duo boon, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, it boosts, or one of their duo boons anyway, it boosts that cost, so it makes it track the enemy faster.
Yes.
And
Oh.
watching Hades' health melt with
Uh-huh.
that boon on, I'm like,
Oh, it destroys him. It destroys
cute.
him.
People outrunning the beam when it's because it moves so slowly is the one frustrating thing about using the Demeter cast. So that boon fixing that sounds devastating.
I think there's another one that makes the beam track where you are. So the
Yes,
beam will
that's
fire
with
toward
Aphrodite.
the beam will fire towards you. So it's really toward like you drag the beam where you want it to go,
Mhm.
and that's also very fun.
Mm.
Oh, you could also use an Aphrodite boon that where enemies close to you deal way less damage. So
Yes.
I think that's called it's called like attraction or opposites attract or something. There's 500 skills in this game, so we're not going to get any of the names.
Yeah,
right.
we're not gonna
But
remember
That
them
one
all.
I think is different league, and I only know that because I
Different
like
league, that's it.
using that with the Athena one, the bronze skin.
Oh yeah, because
yeah.
Athena gives you a flat damage reduction, and different league from Aphrodite gives you damage reduction from enemies near you. So if you
Yeah.
stack those two with the with the Aphrodite Demeter beam, then you can just walk right in front of enemies, and they'll do less damage to you, and your ice beams will laser them to death.
Mhm.
Ah, this is just a tiny slice of what you can do in this game. It's
Yeah, that's like
insane.
one thing we're building around. You know, there's so many things you can build around in this game.
hmm
Nikki, do you have a build or a favorite god boon that you always look out for?
My favorite overall is Ares inflicting doom
Mm.
because they just like blow up. Uh,
That's
I
true.
like combining that with Dionysus because it's a lot of damage. I like combining that with Artemis has one where it's all damage you do can critical, so your doom and your hangover can crit.
Oh,
Oh my god!
And it's just like
look at that.
bomb, boom, 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 like everywhere, just critting all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
I think if you
mirror.
combine that with Aphrodite, it's also like you can stack it more. It like does more like stuff to them, and it's just
Mhm.
like they're just exploding all over the place.
right.
Yeah.
Dionysus gives damage per second over time when you stack hangover on people, but Ares is a single hit. It's called Doom. It's a status effect that just does a large amount of damage after a few seconds. So if you want to do a true Hokuto no Ken build and have someone explode in death a few seconds after you hit them, then look no further than Ares.
Yeah, that's a really good one. There's like a mirror upgrade as well, because, you know, in case you haven't got enough upgrades, there's a mirror where you can change like the aspects of certain things. There's one you can put on, because at some point in the game you get the chance to like flip the standard ones. It allows you to do more damage on enemies that have more than 2 status effects on them. And
Right.
so if you
Yeah, I
got
like
that
that one.
build as well, yeah, it's really, really good.
And the thing is, you sort of associate status effects with Dionysus and Aphrodite because a bunch of Aphrodite stuff gives the weak status, and Ares, but almost every god can give you a status effect somehow. Like eventually, you'll be able to get like a jolted status from any Zeus lightning attack that you learn, and I think that that Artemis doesn't start out with any status effects, but eventually you can get a marked status effect that makes critical hits more effective because most of Artemis stuff is low damage, high critical hit rate. So that mirror bonus where you only get like getting more than 3 status effects or whatever the number is sounds like a lot at first, but once you make it halfway through a run, it's like, oh, I have 5 things that each do a different status effect.
Yep.
Is a very real possible situation. Dom, do you have a favorite recent build or a favorite god boon that you like to keep around?
Yeah. Actually, two of my favorite builds are just running a high crit build with Excalibur, which is the
Oh yeah.
sword's
Yeah.
hidden aspect, which is also another thing I love about the game.
Yeah,
How
Jesus.
it manages to have these sneak in like these mythology from different cultures into these like
That's
have,
right.
like Easter eggs into as various hidden weapon aspects. And Excalibur is a very high damage but like slow swinging claymore, and just like stacking backstab damage, and then like the Artemis and Aphrodite duo boon Heartrend, which increases crit against weakened enemies, and then just hitting Hades for like a 5,000 damage crit is
So good.
wow. It's a chef's kiss right there. And another one that I like is using the Lucifer aspect of the rail, and then putting a Poseidon attack on it, and then trying to get the Poseidon and Zeus duo boon. So, which is Sea Storm, where every knockback effect also hits the enemy with a bolt of lightning. So you have this constant stream of lightning, and it's in the community. It's called the Super Soaker build.
Super Soaker.
Yeah, and it's really fun. I highly recommend it.
If listeners, if you're listening to this cold, the rail refers to one of the 6 weapons, the rail gun, and Lucifer. Dom mentioned the Excalibur and Lucifer aspects. Each of the 6 main weapons has 4 special versions you can unlock called aspects that fundamentally change how the weapon works. And a lot of Poseidon skills give knockback, and basically every Zeus skill involves lightning. So what Dom just described is just one of many of the hundreds of possibilities that sounds super fun and probably has some silly community nickname like the Super Soaker. And I love everything about all of this. Holy moly. Every time you beat the game, the final boss is your dad, Hades. You give the option to increase the game's difficulty by adding like difficulty spike conditions called heat. And if you beat the game with a weapon at a certain heat level for the first time, you get more and more rewards. So this game is constantly rewarding you for success and giving you an unreal amount of options as a player for how difficult you want the game. If you think the game is getting too hard, there's even a god mode that you can unlock where every time you lose, your innate defense or damage reduction increases by 1%. So, as a way to soften the blow of the occasionally high difficulty of Hades. So, there's options for players that want punishing difficulty or want lighter difficulty and just want to see all the cool gods and skills and dialogue, and so on. But now let's talk about these gods and that dialogue, because every time you play,
Wait, did we get Alana's build?
Wait, didn't we? We didn't.
I didn't give one, but everyone's basically given all of mine, so yeah. I guess if we want one similar to Dom's, I do tend to just run straight Zeus on any of the railguns. Chain lightning.
Chain lightning is really effective.
Good. Yeah, I chain lightning is a good one with any close range or the gun. But I think I build the gun more around the Daedalus hammers that you get, and I tend to like the ones that affect your special. Your special with the gun as a standard is just a kind of a grenade, a launcher that you send off.
Just like the mortar and bastion.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you can do it like a spread mortar or anything like that. With Lucifer, it's really cool because it's like a little orb that you send out and you can shoot it and it will explode. So, yeah, I like experimenting more with the Daedalus hammer with the railgun. But my builds tend to vary more based on the weapon. So, I tend to normally go for Artemis builds on the bow. The sword, I go for Demeter builds because you can slow them down, and the sword and the fist are the most. I play dangerous with the sword and the fists. I'm right in their face. Yeah. So you get Athena dash on there, and then you just put whatever DOT or Demeter
dash.
Pretty much, yeah.
Athena dash really, really saves me in the rooms full of witches where they just throw projectiles at you. Because again, for the listeners, Athena skills will give you a lot of shields and reflect options, and on the dash, basically gives you a dash that reflects projectiles when you're dashing. So if you're in a room where people are just chucking unreal numbers of fireballs at you, if you just dash around in a controlled manner, you can reflect most or all of the fireballs right back at the projectile enemies, which helps a lot. Athena Dash is very, very safe and useful for most builds.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I don't tend to settle into one build at the moment. Like I've done like I want to say like 75, 80 runs, and like I think I just love trying different stuff. Like I still haven't seen probably I think I've only seen like 10 or 15 duo boons. I'm not sure how many there are. So I haven't seen like nearly everything the game has to offer, and I've been playing for 80 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
I've only seen maybe 4 or 5 legendary boons, which I think each god has one, except for maybe one of the gods has two. Kind of. Oh, is one of them the fishing one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The best legendary boon.
I love RPG fishing. So
Yes.
that ping noise when you reach a room that has a fishing spot in it makes me triple determined to clear that room quickly because I got to get those fishies.
I hate RPG fishing, but I love Hades fishing so much. I love the names for them. Like you're just adding H's and removing S's sometimes. Like it's a crustacean. It's like what a carp with a H in it, and a hellfish, but it's a shellfish. Guys, come on! Like
And then you get to the top, and it's like this is a trout. It's like it's just a trout. Okay.
Yeah.
come on.
And after you get the end credits, but which happens when you get your 10th clear, there's a guaranteed fishing spot at the top after you fight Hades.
There is,
which just makes me that more determined to fight Hades because not only do I get to visit Greece, I get to fish. Hell yeah.
Yeah. You also get to die in unique ways, which we'll get into.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love those. Let's talk about everybody though. Let's talk about the dialogue.
Yeah, this game does not just give you gameplay rewards every time you clear or every time you die. There are so many denizens in the House of Hades that and you can build relationships with basically all of them. Like there is so much dialogue in this game, and Zagreus is such a likable dude that he's basically befriending and learning and getting closer to everyone he meets, except for maybe his dad.
He's getting there with his dad. I mean,
He's
that's
making
the whole
progress.
point of the game.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the game, isn't it? Like, he wants to run away from home, and then by your, like, 11th or 12th clear, he's like, oh, this is home, kind of thing. So,
Yeah, because Zagreus learns that his mother was not the primordial goddess Nyx, who he thought for his whole life it was, but a woman named Persephone, who is the daughter of one of the Olympian gods, Demeter. In fact, I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be the incestuous daughter of Demeter and Zeus, I think, right?
They're all
In
incestuous.
original,
Yeah, in original myth they are. I think they maybe changed it for Hades, but
They did. Demeter has a dialogue where she says, "I am so sick of Zeus like telling people that we're all related."
Yeah.
Like they just steer right away from the incest.
Yeah.
She says it's like a farm hand or something.
I think in Hades, Persephone's father is immortal.
Mhm.
right.
yes, he is. Correct.
Right. Okay. So they changed around the myth a little bit, and I've just played too many video games the past 2 months. I'm mixing up names and stories with everyone. I go into fatherhood and some other games I've played recently, but I won't. At least the focus of a lot of it is that Zagreus wants to go to Greece to find his mom, and Nyx quietly tells him the truth of his parentage and gives him directions to where Persephone is should he be able to escape the underworld. Again, Nyx, maybe the greatest stepmom in video game history. Holy moly.
She's so
Yes.
Yeah, she rules. Like, what's really interesting about the way that Zagreus finds out about it is that there's a point in the game after you've done like a few runs where like the game prompts you to go to sleep, and he has like the narrator accidentally reveals to him that it's like his mom's Persephone. He's like, "Oh, this is written in your mother Persephone's hand," and Zagreus is like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And the narrator is like, I didn't say that," kind of thing, and it's like it's such a great little moment. If you know your Greek myth, you'd probably know that Persephone is the mother.
Yeah.
Even later in the game, like Persephone and Hades told you that, the stories say that Hades abducted Persephone, but really, like Hades was lonely and Persephone wanted to leave in Olympus, so Zeus sort of put us together. And which makes you wondering, wait a second, so did Zeus have the revisionist history of the incest, but also the revisionist history of what happened between Persephone and Hades? It's like, yeah, like how much is Zeus really manipulating all of this? So that they like they're playful with Greek mythology in ways that always make sense in context, which just that the storytelling is so thoughtful and the moment to moment writing is so good in almost every Supergiant game. But the game rewards you with more dialogue and more character interactions the more you play, because by finding items you can unlock sort of special. Oh, they're a little bit like Persona social links, so I'm just gonna say social links, like a social link relationship meter with almost every major character in the game, including your dog Cerberus.
That's boy.
Cerberus. I do not support a romantic relationship with Cerberus, but for a
Good to get that out there.
For a dog and caretaker relationship, it is so beautiful. Cerberus is such a good boy in this game, and when it's implied that you may have to fight Cerberus, because in the fourth zone, in the fourth zone Styx, you face Cerberus sort of right in the first room, and Zagreus comes to the realization, yeah, if Dad wants me not to leave, then of course he's going to sick Cerberus on me, because Cerberus is the watchdog of Hades. Cerberus doesn't let a thing by him, but because Cerberus also loves Zagreus, and neither of them want to fight each other, Cerberus will quietly accept a bribe, and you got to just you got to go through the rest of the dungeon and find the sack of vermin for Cerberus. And every time you quote defeat unquote Cerberus, it gives you different flavor text, like Cerberus bites the dust because the vermin were covered in dust, or Cerberus stands down because you asked politely. Like there's so much clever dialogue in even just the boss defeat screens that I love all of it.
Can we talk about Lerny?
Lerny!
Yeah, we can. The boss of the second zone is the Lernian Hydra, which is a monster from the 12 labors of Heracles. But you're fighting the undead, bony version of the Hydra, and around the 25th, 30th defeat of the Hydra, and you'll get there because you fight the bosses in this game a lot. Zagreus decides to be on first name terms with the Hydra, names him Lerny, and then even the game's big bold boss text will call the Hydra Lerny the rest of the game.
I think it's my favorite thing in this game. I love it so. I think I've got I must have 50 screenshots of him just going, "Oh, Lerny, hiss me if you want to lose" or something. And I'm just I love it so much.
Or what about Zagreus teaching Tisiphone how to talk?
Oh yeah!
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, does he get to do that? Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, the Furies are the boss of the first zone of the game, and I can't remember the name of the third one, but at first Alecto. At first, you fight Megara, who's an old flame of Zagreus's, and you can rekindle that old flame if you want to, and believe me, I wanted to. And then after you defeat Mega a certain number of times, you fight Tisiphone, and after that, the first boss is a random selection between Megara and Tisiphone, and after you defeat them a few more times, the third one, Alecto, joins, and each of them play quite differently, and they're the Furies who punish sinners that are sent to Hades. I think Megara punishes liars, Tisiphone punishes murderers, and Alecto punishes unfaithful lovers. So it's so they all have commentary similar to the specific vice that they're used to punishing, and Tisiphone only can say the word murder, except that Zagreus is slowly teaching her how to say other words with additional encounters. And even better, every time you are about to fight one of the Furies, Zagreus tries to guess which one it is. Like, I bet it's going to be Meg this time. And he's he's not always wrong or always right. There's so much variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're going through the bosses, then should we go to the most annoying one, Theseus and Asterius?
I always save Mort for them.
Yeah.
Mort.
Yeah.
The only keepsake I have.
Oh,
I wanted the relationship Thanatos, and I achieved that goal. I stopped.
Same, exactly. Yes, we got there.
We got there.
you have the best of both worlds. Don't worry. As someone who has both of them. But yeah, Theseus and Asterius. I love the relationship Zag has with Asterius because you can meet Asterius as a separate mini boss in Elysium, and they sort of build up like a friendly mentor rivalry relationship where they just enjoy fighting each other. But Theseus is an arse basically, and
Yes.
he
He is
he's
a pompous jerk, and beating him is so satisfying.
Yeah, I love the banter the two of them have. It's just like Theseus being really stubborn and really arrogant, and then Zag's just like undercuts him in some way. I can't think of a specific line of dialogue, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
those two are a
everything.
pain. I've probably died to those two more than I have to the actual final boss, I would say. That was my real first stumbling block. And it was
Right.
for a while as well.
I mean, every part of this game will be a stumbling block at some point. Like, I mean, the first time I got to the third zone, which is Elysium, I really struggled with the chariot enemies and the butterfly enemies, and the hero ghosts that have different weapons sometimes. This to a degree, this is a game of learning where. You'll get more and more comfortable every time you play it, but I agree that Theseus and Asterius are a bigger wall than Lerny or the Furies. Definitely.
Yeah, they don't really change too much like Lerny and the Furies do. They do if you start playing around with heat, though, and maybe we'll...
Yeah. So, fighting Asterius and Theseus, you do get a boon that no other boss gives you, and that's the good shade.
You do. I love the good shade so much every time.
That's good
I
shade is best boy. I'm just gonna say it right now.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, let's say that Good
I
Shade
don't know
and Cerberus tie for best boy. I don't want to disrespect Cerberus here.
Okay.
That's fair. I'm sure they would be best friends, honestly, because they're both rooting for you.
They are
True.
our number one fan.
I think
In
my favorite.
Asterius's room, when you fight him as a mini boss all alone, like someone has put Zagreus banners on top of Asterius's banners, and I don't know if that's the good shade or if that's Asterius. I don't know who did it, but someone did it.
Is Asterius quietly rooting for Zagreus the whole time, and then just to bring Theseus down a notch?
I mean, Asterius deserves so much better than Theseus, let's just be honest.
Right?
He's a good boy, he deserves better.
The internet thinks otherwise, do they not?
I'm sure they do.
I'm sure the internet has a lot of thoughts, and some maybe even expressed visually on the relationship between Theseus and Asterius.
Definitely.
But I mean, we've been dancing around it the whole time. The art in this game is beautiful. It's by Gen Z, who does I think the art for all of the SuperGiant games, and they made everyone in this game so attractive that naturally people have really run wild with the possibilities of shipping. But Zagreus definitely is bi, and you can even have canonical sexual relationships with both Megara and Thanatos. Thanatos is I think Zagreus believed that they were half brothers because Thanatos is a son of Nyx, but then and they grew up as best friends, or at least this is my interpretation. But then Zagreus realizes, hey, we're not exactly half brothers. So
an anime on us.
We are boyfriends now.
Yeah, we are. and Thanatos, who's a very handsome man, randomly shows up in the game. I think he can show up in all of the zones, or is it just
all of them?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
he
okay.
can show up in all of them. I think he'll only show up the first time in Elysium. That's the first
That's
place
what it was.
I
Okay,
saw
yeah.
him.
I didn't see him until Elysium, so that you probably have to get to Elysium in order to use him. Sort of like how you can't get any Demeter boons until you at least get to Greece once. You don't have to beat Hades, but you have to get to Hades before you get any Demeter boons. So and again, there's a lot of weird conditions for unlocking things in this game. Like I think to get one of the weapon aspect upgrades, you have to you have to fight the Asterius mini boss with is it with your fists?
With fists, yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
all of the hidden aspects have strange unlocks like that because I think you have to have a line of dialogue with Achilles to get Guan Yu, the spear.
That's right.
But like the cool
Oh.
thing I think as well is like they also have these like Easter eggs in these reveals as well because Asterius unlocks the aspect of Gilgamesh. Yeah, and in that story, I believe Enkidu, who is Gilgamesh's best friend or companion at that point, he slays a bull, and the Babylonian, I hope I get that right.
Yeah,
the Babylonian god.
It's Mesopotamian. It would be a belief system shared by the Babylonians and Sumerians. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those gods slay Enkidu for having killed the bull. So like the fact that you get the dialogue from Asterius is also kind of like a I guess a reference to that, and like it's cool to find out these little details throughout the game.
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, I've played so much Final Fantasy that whenever anybody says Enkidu, I immediately think of the chicken from Final Fantasy XIV.
well, I mean, in Final Fantasy V, when you fight Gilgamesh, he has a partner named Enkidu, who's this green winged demon thing. So in Final Fantasy XIV, when you fight a similar Gilgamesh, his best friend is a green chicken named Enkidu.
I love him. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
But back to Hades and back to how attractive all of these gods and goddesses are. Straight up, tell me your a favorite boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, non-binary crush. Just throw them out there. We don't have to take turns.
We haven't spoken about one of the best boys and the best boss, Charon.
Yeah.
Oh, Charon.
Next relationship bar was with Karen because I really thought I was going to get a shop discount if I did that, and then the game calls you out on it. The game's like, I bet you thought you were going to get a discount. I was like, I didn't think I was going to get a discount.
Fantastic.
Karen is the best.
All right, mate.
Does Karen ever
when you touch his wallet?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a very
jazz music stops.
Hold up.
And him and Hermes have definitely got a little thing going on.
I know. Oh my god.
Oh, they're so adorable.
So cute.
I was actually going to mention Hermes for one of my favorites because he's got this whole sort of subplot running through the game where he's done a lot of this to help you reach the top. He does a lot for you, and it's kind of the nicer ones, or at least the less conceited of all the sort of Olympian gods in the game.
There are some rooms called trial rooms where you can get 2 boons instead of 1, but they're empty. They don't have monsters in them at first, and you get to there's 2 of the little icons or symbols, and you get to pick one and get it immediately. But then you have to face a trial from the other one because the other god feels slighted for not having been chosen first, and you have to fight a bunch of monsters, and then you'll get both boons after you defeat the trial. But the funny thing is Hermes can't be one of in a trial room. He
doesn't have any duo boons either.
Yeah, it's implied that he's the one that's delivering the rewards in each room. So he's been low key helping you throughout, and also sending messages, maybe, and I think keeping Nyx abreast of what's going on, maybe other characters as well.
All the weapons as well for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And his boons are a lot of them are pretty good because they affect your movement speed and attack speed, and sometimes your regular dungeon rewards. Hermes boons are always good. Again, there isn't a bad set of rewards in this game.
Nope.
Call out to +1 dash. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, being able to chain dashes together.
I can just keep dashing and never stop.
That and depending on what weapon I'm using, attack speed up is really good, especially for something, especially for Excalibur or something, which I really love Excalibur, but it is a tiny bit slow. And Gilgamesh, the fists as well, putting on that is really good. But yeah, Hermes is cute.
Apollo may be the most conspicuously absent god in this game.
Yeah.
Apollo and Hera, I think.
Yeah, there are 13 Olympian gods, 14 if you accept what the Roman cult of Hercules said, but there's only 9 boons. So there's no Hephaestus, no Hera, no Apollo, and no Hestia.
Although Hestia is referenced with the rail.
Yeah, she's referenced to the rail because she's one of the 6 children of Rhea and Kronos. Hera's referenced there as well. But I think it was curious that they made they made the weapon upgrade items Daedalus hammers instead of Hephaestus hammers. But I think they wanted to make it separate from a boon, and because Hephaestus is one of the gods, his upgrades would have to be boons. Is my theory about it, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love Dionysus, not only because he's totally cute, but also because he tells Zagreus to play a prank on Orpheus to tell them they're the same person, which is based off of one of their like Greek myths where they were like torn apart by the Titans, and Orpheus just believes him. Like Zagreus keeps telling him, "No, it was just a prank, bro." And Orpheus is like, "You don't need to be so like modest. I know you're so great." And he makes a song for it and sings it for you, and it's so good.
I love Orpheus and Eurydice in this game.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah,
I need them to get back together. I need Achilles and Patroclus to get back together. I need everyone to just get back together right now.
I can't believe they went this long without mentioning Achilles or Patroclus.
Yeah, Achilles and Patroclus from the myth of Troy are separated in this game because Achilles is a resident of the House of Hades and is canonically Zagreus' trainer, and Patroclus is stuck in Elysium. And they've been separated for years and years. And one of the multiple side quests in this game, well, let's say two of them, like you can get Achilles and Patroclus to get back together. You can have Eurydice and Orpheus get back together. You can have Nyx reconcile with her father brother Chaos, however you want to categorize Chaos.
Parent.
Parent, yeah.
Yeah, because
I love them so much. They're so
amazing.
Oh, and you can release Sisyphus from his contract so that he won't be tortured quite as much by Megara anymore.
I just realized that Sollosi was wrong about the number of boons.
I was? How many? What?
Yeah. You not mention the Boldy boons?
Oh, how dare I? How dare I? Sisyphus has been pushing his boulder up the hill only to have it fall down for so many years that he's named his boulder Boldy, and you can even enter a social link relationship with Boldy that does not change much, but you sure can spend nectar on him if you want.
Yeah, he gives you a very minor boon randomly. It's like 5 health or something like that. It depends.
Yeah. Got a good companion though, Sisyphus. Definitely.
Yeah, gotta have a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned them offhand, but you can find Sisyphus in Zone 1, Eurydice in Zone 2, and Patroclus in Zone 3, and each of them gives you a pretty excellent choice of rewards if you find their rooms randomly.
Yes.
Especially the Eurydice rewards. She gives you free skill upgrades, and I hope to run into her every run, although I'm not always so fortunate to do that.
Yeah, Patroclus is if I'm having a bad run and I've lost all my death defiance, it's like a golden beacon in the darkness. It's like
literally
Patroclus.
a lifesaver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but sometimes he doesn't show up when you need him most.
And if you're doing really well by the time you run into Patroclus and you have all your death defiances, which are like extra lives, and your health is good, you can be like, oh, I can get an extra 30% attack damage for Theseus and Asterius. Sign me up, bro.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like 50%. It's like a lot.
It's 60%.
Jeez, it's even more than I remembered.
It's so much for like 10 rooms.
Yeah, you can have a restore 30% of your health.
30% of your health per room for 5 rooms or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he'll give you.
Use that very often though. I must admit, yeah.
Definitely the death defiance, then the attack one, and then I guess the health one if I need it.
It's like if you have all your death defiances and health is a big problem, then maybe pick that one. But the options are good, and Eurydice's options are increase the rarity of one skill, randomly level up 3 skills, or guarantee that your next boon is a really good rarity. So
I think it's increase the rarity of 2 skills.
Oh, increase the rarity of 2. Oh, that's better than I remember.
The next 3 skills or 3 boons.
Yeah, 3 boons upgraded. Yeah. Okay. And but she affects the power of individual skills. And Sisyphus's rewards are pretty simple. He either gives you I think it's gold, healing, or is it darkness? Right.
Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. Darkness, gems, nectar, ambrosia, diamonds. Titan blood. There's so many different currencies in this game. It's more complicated than Destiny 2.
I love going to the shop. Okay, I've got 10 nectar. I'll exchange that for 10 or 1,000 darkness. 1,000 darkness into 1 Titan blood into an ambrosia. I got it.
Yeah.
And Titan blood unlocks weapon aspects. And Nectar gives you more dialogue with in the god social links. Ambrosia is like super nectar that you need to max out your social links. And and all of them are currency for getting upgrades from the Fates journal. Darkness gives you upgrades in those mirror bonuses. Gems give you let you upgrade the stuff that are in the house. You will never run out of things to do in this game.
No.
Yeah. And I like how the devs also have the foresight where, like, for instance, if you like maxed out on your mirror upgrades and you run into a chamber and where it's like, oh, the reward is darkness, and like you don't really have a use for darkness anymore, right? But they have the foresight to give you an upgrade where darkness then also gives you a max health up,
Right.
and stuff like that. So there's always like incentive. And there's never a room where you're like, oh well, this sucks. I got like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run.
And
So it's like-
even if you like darkness and gems are probably the lowest two currencies. If you've spent every single darkness thing on the mirror and every single gems thing in the house renovator, you can always either exchange them for more advanced currency with at the exchange rate counter, or buy those useless status symbol badges in Hades' room that always have a 1,000 darkness as their price or whatever. So even when you think you've completely exhausted one currency, you could always at least exchange it or spend it on a status symbol. So you will never run out of things to do in this game. And if you, as a player, truly have, then first of all, props. Second of all, how?
How? Yeah, like people are still finding new dialogue now. Like I remember a few weeks ago, somebody decided to go to Hades without any boons at all, and Hades acknowledges that you have no boons. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You have to like sell them as you go, and it's like
Yeah.
that
Oh wow.
amount of detail. And like every boss will react to certain weapons that you've got, and Hades will react to every weapon you use. Like, oh, that sword is the one that Poseidon used. It looks better on you, all kind of things like that. And then, you know, like Asterius reacts to when you take Gilgamesh there, and he tells Theseus, he's like, "Oh, this is the weapon I was telling you about." And Theseus is like, "Oh, bear claws! Now you look like a monster, like you really are, Zagreus." And it's like, there's just so many lines of like even the gods. Like I think you take the aspect of Achilles, and Artemis pops up, and Artemis is a bit of a fan of Achilles. She has a little bit of a moment. She's like, "Oh my god, is that Achilles' spear?" Kind of thing. Like, it's just so great.
I just sort of love how like the Olympian gods are very capricious and subject to whims. Like they'll be super mad at you if you don't pick them at a trial, but then immediately forgive you afterwards. But I just love that there aren't very many of them. So when they learn that Zagreus is an immortal like them, they all just want to meet him and be friends with him. There's so much positivity in his interactions with his Olympian family that I just grew to really like all of the Olympian gods in this game. Although Zeus is still a rascal. I mean, come on.
I feel like Zeus, no matter how well they write him, I can't like just forget how he actually is in the mythology.
How he is the worst adulterer in the history of fiction, and maybe the worst deadbeat dad in the history of fiction.
Yep.
But you know who isn't? Ares, best boy. Yeah.
Oh, is that the best boy?
They made
He
Harry.
supports you and Than.
I haven't talked too much about Than, and I think he's adorable.
Yes.
Like I do.
Than
love the
might
way-
be my favorite NPC in the whole game.
I know that's in there.
I think he's probably mine as well. Predictable. But like, I just love how they're like, it's like unreconciled love, isn't it? Like, it's the traditional like best friends from birth, growing up together, romance, and like their interactions feel so natural. Like, my favorite one is way beyond when they're like together, is when you walk into a room, the bell goes off and Zagreus just goes dong, and then like pops up, and here I am. I'm just like, these two are boyfriends, everybody.
And
They're doing
and I love if you get into a relationship with both Megara and Than, then you can run into Than and Megara like drinking in the cafeteria together, talking about Zag. They're totally cool about it.
Yeah, that is so cool, and I was a little bit surprised they went with it, and it felt so natural as well. Like that dialogue scene between Than and Zag in Zag's bedroom it really got me. I was like, it felt very natural, like a very unreconciled relationship kind of thing, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually going to do it, and they did it, and I was like, oh, they did the thing, and I was like, yeah, and then the same thing happens with Meg, and it's so good. I really, yeah, Thanatos is just a sad boy, isn't he? And he's not very good at showing his emotions. And
He's a sad, edgy boy that is not great at communicating, but eventually
just my type.
Yeah.
yeah,
like slightly unavailable, but you can tell there's something there, and maybe you can make him connect with. Maybe you can have him, connect emotionally a little bit. They made him very attractive, and also in a gameplay setting, whenever you encounter Thanatos, he does a bunch of super powerful attacks to help you kill the monsters in there, and he'll give you he'll say thanks and leave. No matter what, but if you kill more monsters than he does, then you get an extra reward, which is, awesome. Fan best boy.
It's always a centaur heart.
Yeah,
always.
To upgrade your max health, and
he gives you the heart. Oh.
And the
cry every time.
He gives you his heart in addition to the reward of the room. So it's not like he's forcing. He's taking something away from you. He would never. He would never.
You would never. He's trying to tell you, Zagreus. You just gotta listen.
The first major house renovation thing I did was putting all of the cute furniture in Than's little corner, so he could have all that decoration.
Oh,
I love that. I had no idea that once you get to a certain point, you can hire what's he called? The house contractor.
yeah,
Right.
And you can pay him to decorate the House of Hades. And I'm like, wait, this is The Sims now? why are we doing?
Pretty flowers. Oh my
I know.
gosh, it's so good.
You can change.
Yeah.
There
You can give toys to Cerberus.
Yeah, you can upgrade his bed and give him toys. You can add all kinds of things into the onto the kitchen counter in the cafeteria. The so many curtains and rugs to choose from, and every time you change something, Hades grumbles and complains because Hades, who is present in the room every time you attack. I'm sorry, every time you attempt to escape, in open defiance of him, it makes Hades. Not only is he the title character, but and the final boss of every run, he's he's kind of put upon. He doesn't want Zagreus to leave, and he has difficulty talking to his son. He's sort of the most important character in the whole game.
Well, yeah,
he's a very old-fashioned sort of dad. Just can't talk about what he really wants.
Right.
It's in bad ways.
and he's in a rock and a hard place, isn't he? Because he's essentially having to stay in the underworld because that's what's been decided for him. He's not got a choice. He can't leave anymore, and he's frustrated with that. And then he loses his wife Persephone, and then it's just a difficult situation kind of thing. And by the end, you kind of feel for him, and I do you can give him nectar, and I'm starting to break through that shell a little bit now. He's kind of all and I think the really funny thing is initially Zagreus is just bored of working in the House of Hades for his dad because he's essentially he just does paperwork, doesn't he? Because you can unlock the room at a certain point that has all the files and it saves all of your every clear that you do or every failure that you do, and that's what Zagreus used to do. He just used to file stuff away. On the back of that, I do really and Hypnos does this as well. If you die to Hades, it never tells you It's
Yeah,
redacted.
redacted.
And
Yeah.
even when you come out of sticks, it's just like, wow, you died to redacted? Can you tell me who that is? I'm like, yeah.
And Hades just pretends it never happened. What? You beat me? I don't remember that. Didn't happen.
That's a very dad move to quietly correct the golf scores on his scorecard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of my favorite joke in the game, which is when you're fighting Hades and his cape burns off. As Zagreus said, "How many of those things do you have?" Or something like that. And then when you finally unlock Hades' room, you can check his wardrobe, and it's nothing but capes. And Zagreus is like, "I knew it."
Indiana Jones theory.
or like in the Alain Delon movie Le Samurai, where he like goes into his apartment and you open the closet and it's just hundreds of the same coat he's wearing the whole movie. That movie is a really cool like French New Wave movie that's that's quietly hilarious. Shout out to Alain Delon, the epitome of French cool. Either him or Jean Reno, those two guys. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, if I'm talking about French New Wave crime drama, maybe we're near the end of the episode. But so I want one final question from each of you. Hades had a long early access period, a lot of fan input, a lot of data that they had to work the game and fine tune it to release that was very successful. It's won a lot of Game of the Year awards, maybe not all of them in a year that also has Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us 2 in it. But it was Time Magazine's Game of the Year of all things. That wasn't something I was expecting to say out loud on the podcast in 2020. Although this episode is coming out in early 2021, I know.
Of the year.
He's like him and Ichiban Kasuga are tied for my Man of the Year.
Fair enough.
But there's been no news of post-release DLC, and we live in an era where we almost expect some level of DLC from major releases. But SuperGiant's never really done that for their games, whether they reject it on principle or are always working on the next game or what have you. They have their own reasons. But what would you prefer? Like, would you be willing to pay for a Hades expansion pack that maybe adds, let's say, Apollo and Hera as boons? Would you just want them to move on to a Hades 2? Or do you think that they'd be more likely to just continue supporting the game with smaller updates? We all like Hades. We all probably want more Hades, at least to a degree. But how much more and how and exactly how do we want more? The floor is yours, anyone.
Well, I think that there's still a lot of room to explore with we've only gotten to Greece, and we haven't even come even close to even the base of Mount Olympus.
I don't think it's super likely we'll get a DLC for it. Maybe someday, maybe a sequel. I'm kind of interested in maybe a different mythology sort of sequel. But that sort of style, maybe an Egyptian mythology. I'd quite like that.
They could call the game Anubis, and it's about a soul trying to leave the Egyptian underworld in reverse order, in the reverse order of the journey of the soul.
There you go.
I mean, I'm already excited for whatever Supergiant does, because I just played their games for a full month. I played Pyre for the first time in December, and Hades for the first time in October, November. I think a day or two before Halloween, because I have a vivid memory of playing the game on Halloween with a bowl of candy next to me, intending to just give to trick-or-treaters while playing Hades all night, but my house got 0 trick-or-treaters because of the pandemic. So it ended up just being me playing Hades and eating candy.
It's like a good time.
It was an alright time. I think this is a game that you can binge for hours and hours and get a lot out of it, or play one run for 30 minutes or less and play it in a daily means. Alana, you and I have talked about how this game, because it just puts you in a good mood, it's therapeutic in a way.
Oh my god, yeah, it's a crutch, definitely. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah, the time I was playing this was probably one of the most difficult periods of my life, and I literally, the idea of repetition, going back to the house, talking to all my friends in the house, doing this, doing that, everything. Yeah, Hades was Hades came at the right time. I would have loved it anyway, but like, there's something really, really, really special about it. And I still use it now. Like, if I've had a really rubbish day, then I just do one run in Hades, and like, there's not many games that I find really funny when I lose. But like, I never get really annoyed at myself if I do like a really stupid thing. Like, I died on Electo the other day, and I've cleared this like 25 times, and I was like, wait, what? But yeah, to roll it back to the question earlier, I don't think Supergiant are going to do DLC. They have said they are working on their next game. As far as I'm aware, Darren Korb, who is the composer and the voice actor for Zagreus and Skelly, who we didn't mention once.
Sexiest man in the game.
But yeah.
Skelly legend. Skelly.
He's got a nice story about him being, oh god, is it Skelegrius or one of the kings? I can't remember. I've done a little bit of it. He's maxed out. But yeah, Darren Korb said that they're already thinking about their next game. I want to know what they're doing next, because I was on those episodes with you, and like, from admiring Supergiant from a distance to basically becoming, I will buy their next game day one, regardless of what it is. Like, I don't care. Like, I've played a hybrid sports story visual novel RPG and loved it. I will buy it. I will buy a flipping hockey game if they make it. Like, yeah, like
I would buy just.
On to you, Alana.
I would buy just a dating sim starring characters from previous Supergiant games.
Oh,
wow.
Puyo Tetris, but with like every character from like, I don't know. But yeah, like, given a lot of discussions that have been going around in the media about crunch culture and work ethic and everything, and we talked about this a lot on the last 3 episodes with Eva, Supergiant are basically a model studio for how game development should be. Like, mandatory holiday and breaks and not encouraging overtime, or if they do overtime, then take the time back kind of thing. Like, they have a real passion and a craft for what they do, but they also respect their employees, and it's been such a really it's so cool to see them from 2009 when they formed to now, just how they've grown and how they're still like a grassroots company essentially. And yeah, they're just great, aren't they? Like, I can't take anything away from
Agreed.
This whole discussion just makes me want to fire up my Switch and play Hades some more.
I've got to go to bed, so
yeah, it's very late for our panelists in the UK, and very early for our panelists in South Korea. This this episode is recorded across 4 countries and 3 continents, and I'm glad we were able to schedule it and get it together. Hades was my game of 2020. I've said over and over that my 2 favorites were Hades and Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I think that Hades edged out that the other one. But I like Yakuza Like a Dragon so much. We're doing a spoiler cast on that game very soon. I think it's going to be the first episode of February. So we don't only talk about old games on Retro Encounter. Sometimes I like a new game so much I can't help but insist on podcasting about it. And that is what brought the 5 of us together today. Later this month, we're doing 2 episodes on Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, and Lost Ocean. Alana, you're hosting those episodes, and I cannot wait to hear about this weird GameCube thing.
oh yeah, we're going to be talking Disc 1 first episode. It's like a nice split.
We're talking card games.
We're going to be talking card games. We're going to be talking about card essence. We're going to be talking about other things. This is a weird game. We're going to be talking about Tower of Daruga. Like, it's going to be a good time.
But Tower of Daruga. Well, yeah, this is an Namco game,
Daruga,
I guess, right?
Sorry, yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay. Can you get the blue crystal rod in this game?
You can't, but there is a dungeon that references that game, and we'll be talking about it on the first episode. So
all right. I have not played Baten Kaitos, but I am very interested to hear about it. And I, unsurprisingly, I listen to all of the podcasts on RPG Fans, so I will learn about Baten Kaitos very soon. But after Baten Kaitos, we have some episodes planned in February. We're going to do a Yakuza Like a Dragon spoiler cast, like I mentioned. 2 episodes on Radiant Historia, that Atlas DS RPG that gets real weird about time travel, and has a wonderful Yoko Shimomura soundtrack. But if you want to email us about Baten Kaidos or Yakuza or Radiant Historia, the best way to do so is email retro@rpgfan.com. You can also comment on RPG Fan's message boards, or our Facebook page, or Instagram page, or our Twitter page, or our Discord server, or our YouTube channel, or on twitch.com where we have something... twitch.tv, where we have something streaming almost every day. And Leona, you're an occasional streamer for RPG Fan, aren't you?
Sometimes I join with Scott and Steph. Yeah, we play some fun visual novels.
Yeah, you did. You played AI's Somnium Files together. That game's a
Oh, yeah.
It's a good game. It's such a good game.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, plenty of Twitch archives and current Twitch playthroughs to watch on RPG Fan's Twitch page. RPG Fan also has 3 other fine podcasts: Random Encounter about randomness, Rhythm Encounter about RPG music, and Phoenix Edge, another weekly podcast about mostly current events. You can review Retro Encounter or those other 3 on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or however you are listening to us. Give us all the feedback you are willing to provide. But if you want to give us feedback at a more individual level, let's tell the listener how to do so, starting with you, Leona.
Well, I don't want your feedback, but you can follow... I'm kidding. You can give me your positive reinforcement on my Twitter. Twitter is Starmongoose, and you can follow me on Twitch, where I stream 3 times a week RPGs. I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2 right now, for the first time.
Oh,
it's really fun. No, I'm really enjoying it. I'm sorry. I'm one of them now. I'm one of them now. I like it. Damn it. Yeah, that's Starmongoose RPG Fan. It's a very long name.
Dom, how can listeners reach you?
I hang around Discord a lot, so you can find me on there, or you can find me on the servers, where I tend to lurk a lot as well.
I post the podcast sometimes and get sports mad sometimes on our Discord. But Niki, how can listeners reach you?
It's a secret right now, because while I totally agree that we probably won't see DLC, it's going to take a lot of balancing and stuff to get in Apollo. I am going to be using my secret space to invoke the powers that be to add Charon and Ares love interest DLC.
Yes.
To the game.
Wow. Yeah,
so it has to be secret for now, so nobody can, see my invocations.
Make that.
But
one of the
I will get that
quests.
Ares DLC and Charon. We gotta marry them.
But you have to go into the filing cabinets to get the Sisyphus contract or Patroclus's contract. Just add a side quest DLC in the same manner so that Charon and Ares, who are meant for each other, can be together. But Alana, do you have a favorite side quest you would like to add in theory, or alternatively tell listeners how they can find you?
No favorite side quest. I think Cerberus petting is just enough for me. Don't make him a boss fight. But if you want to reach me personally, you can do it on Twitter or Instagram. I am at Alana Hagues on either of those. I do hang around on the Discord occasionally as well. I am Alana on there. Or if you want to email me, I am alanah@rpgfan.com.
Excellent. And thank you, listeners, for hanging out with us and talking Hades. If you want to hang out with me and talk to me more directly, you can find me on Twitter at The Real Monsoon most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs other times, and at even fewer times on RPG Fans Discord as Monsoon Mike. So, thanks a lot, mates.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, good night, and good luck.